So, up the power a bit. Good evening all from GKQ. Kill that mute, kill some of the noise in the shack. And get on with it. Right, before I go on, Gareth, G4XAT, you'll be on straight after me, followed by John, G7JTT. He'll go through the rest of the list in a minute. Not a lot to announce. The next activity day isn't until 14th, 15th of May. But the highlight for me is the rallies start this weekend. BATC will have a stand at the Blackpool rally. No shop, but some presents at least anyway. Microwave round table on Sunday as well at Martlesham. And the one I'm going to, which is the Andover rally. So it'd be good to meet people again. Right, we have G4XAT, Gareth will be on first, next will be John, G7JTT, then Richard, GI4DOH, then Dave, G4EEV, then Martin, G4FKK, Mike, G0MJW, and I think, GW7BZY after Mike, and Roger, G3IUZ, and I think James, G0DQH on the end there. So I'll put the list on the chat in a minute, but let's go around to Gareth and see what he's been up to from G8GKQ.
I hear the fans. That means it's working, and so is the operator. Good evening, everybody. Thank you, Dave. G8GKQ from G4XAT for the Sunday evening. Sorry, not Sunday evening. Thursday evening net. What a beautiful day we've had. I had to nip down to Brighton to visit the mother-in-law today with my good lady, so we had a fairly pleasant drive down. I think I've got my lip sync tweaked slightly. Please shout if it's horribly awry, and I'll try and do something about it and found the relevant menu. Okay, let's try what I've been up to. That is the business end of one of these, which is upside down, I think. Anyway, it's an LTEC 3 kilowatt power supply, 50 volts, configurable up and down if you've got a CAN bus controller. Thanks, Martin. Yeah, it was only a quick job on a hand clap on a channel down, but I don't know why it's changed. And I've been clicking upgrades for weeks, months even, and haven't had any bother. At least nobody's commented, but whatever. Okay, so there's that, and also I paid $1.99 for this software. It's called Aerial TV, and it runs on an Android phone of modern parlance with a dongle, and it basically receives terrestrial DATV very effectively. I mean, I am in sight of Crystal Palace Mast, which is over there in the distance, but I'm impressed by the receive capability of that little number. Okay, what else? Right, let me just find the pictures and find the right ones. Here we go. Okay, well, I haven't had much bother with rubbish off eBay, but this is supposed to be a 433/470 megahertz low pass filter. And having had bother with my Pluto and having to give it the full DFU reset, I thought, well, I'll just test it. So I thought I'll test this filter that's just arrived. And look at it, 360 meg, it starts to cut off. Anyway, the Chinese vendor promptly refunded me when I complained and sent them a screenshot. So all is well in that respect. Okay, and that was breakfast yesterday. Had to share it with the wife. First one of the year. These are grown in the apex of my greenhouse in a hydroponic trough system that I've had running for years. And we plant them in there in January in pots from basic plants, and this is what we get. Yum, yum, yum. Had 2 today. Probably only around to 1 tomorrow, I suspect. But there we are. Okie doke, that's enough for me this time round. Heated tongs, eh, John? Wasn't until I saw Martin's rendition of whether they were safe or not. It's a shame about stuff like that, isn't it? I mean, we've got a vacuum sealer, which is really, really good, except I plugged it in one day and there was a loud bang and the switch mode power supply departed this earth. And I did have a look at it, but something that's clearly gone critical, and then there was a new one in Lidl this week with a 3-year guarantee, so I bought one of those instead. It still works, just needs 12 volts. Such a waste. You know, something cheap, compromised, poor job. Anyway, enough from me, round to John. So G7JT2, take it from G4XAT in the BATC Net. Over.
Right, good evening all. Yeah, that was, for those that are watching Colin as well, they'd have seen what the point of showing the straightener things was. Colin basically just cut the thing off to wire into a proper UK plug. But in answer to Martin's response to it, yeah, I actually replaced the heating element in that one. Somehow she managed to kill it. It was only heating up on one side. And the heating elements are very, very cheap. I think them about 3 or 4 quid or whatever. Which got me thinking, I wonder if they'd be ideal to make a heat pad for when you're doing the reflows type stuff. It was something I was going to have a go at making, but I just one of those things never got around to. But anyway, right, I have some different news. Get ready for the 80 metre net. I was in A&E this morning for about 7 hours. I thought I was potentially having a heart attack, but thankfully it wasn't. It appears somehow I've torn a ligament or something in my chest here, which is what was causing the pain. Not quite sure I've done it, but anyway, that was that. But the result is I've now got 2 weeks off work. So 7 hours in the hospital to get 2 weeks off work. Fantastic result all round. So and the best thing is I've got to rest, so I can't do too much around the house. So radio I have to be there. So I should look forward to it. The Andover rally, yes, definitely looking forward to seeing that, or going to that rather. I think that would be my first, well, it is my first weekend off in nearly 3 years, I suppose, since the COVID thing started. So definitely going to enjoy going down to that. Hopefully get some bits and pieces that I need as well. What's the other I was going to say? Yeah, I watched a really interesting video. I know not everybody's into the optical stuff, but there was a video I came across on YouTube that had 2 guys, I forget where they were now, somewhere in Europe, playing around with some World War II optical comms. I assume they're probably German origin. I don't know. I didn't really figure that much out, but they were like a pair of binoculars. They obviously had a separate transmit receive, but they had voice on it. But it was an amazing bit of kit, and they got in daylight it was about 37 kilometres or something. So it just shows that although we think we're playing with things sometimes and we're sort of reinventing the wheel, it's been done a long time before as well. So, but anyway, right, I haven't really got anything else to say or do. So with that, I should pass it round to Richard, GI4DOH. Around to you, Richard, G7JTT.
G7JTT with the group GI4DOH. Thanks, John, and commiserations on the time in A&E, but glad I had a few of those, and certainly focuses the mind when you think you're about to have a heart attack. I haven't had one for about 17 years now, and so doing my best to avoid the next one. Try not to get too excited when I'm on the air here, but yeah, take the opportunity to rest. That's always a good thing. So yeah, just getting back to the auto cue. Dave, and what you were saying about Norbreck, I mustn't forget. I'm actually setting off quite early in the morning to get the ferry across to Birkenhead, to get to the Blackpool area for Norbreck. I better pack a few things before the night's out. But I hope to see the BATC stand there, and I think there's going to be a lack of traders, some of the bigger traders, but should be good to get out anyway and get into amateur radio company. It's always a good thing. Gareth, the fine on the horticulture there. I had a very hot vindaloo the other night at the local establishment, and it wasn't quite up. Didn't bring as many tears to my eyes as your chilies that you sent me last year, but it did remind me that they were pretty hot, and I certainly enjoyed that. But what have I been doing? Two things. AliExpress insisted in trying to sell me this little USB volume control. It's very good because you just press the knob on it, and it stops you getting confused by listening to your own voice when you transmit through Q100. So it's got benefits, and I just have to remember to hit the button again to put the sound back on when I finish. And I mentioned last week that I had the old ME thing. I sort of felt it was time I got a Polycam and or a Polycom set up and got the bits and pieces from different places, and I've done a lot of head scratching and pulling my hair out, but I think I should be still fairly new to all this and look at the other camera. So that's probably enough from me for the time being. I'll pass it on round to Dev G4EEV with the BATC group. This is GI4DOH.
GI4DOH in the group, G4EEV. GI4DOH. Okay, got audio. That's a good start. Right. Okay. Yes, good evening, everybody. I don't know what happened at the end there, Richard, but you lost audio. It looked like a poor connection or something because it came back at the end. Not quite sure. Oops, I can hear myself. Don't know where that's coming from. We're supposed to be muted here somewhere. Anyway, okay, well, it's been an exciting day today because this arrived in the post. A Raspberry Pi 4 Model B. It's a 4 gigabyte. Thanks to Dave's note in the on the web, there was a list of suppliers, and there was one in Germany that had it. So I got in there and ordered one, and it took about a week to come. The plan is to build another port down, so I can go port as soon as I can get the tuner for the mini tuner. I've got a box here which I'm hoping it'll all fit in, similar to the ones that most of you have got. So I was experimenting with dual booting a Raspberry Pi B, but I used the PINN operating system, and I could boot ports down 2020 and also Linux to run forgotten the name of it now, the SDR program that runs with the R2. But thankfully today we've now got that running on the ports down, so that's good news. So I'm looking forward to that, but still waiting for a line. Anyway, not much more from me this end. I won't come back on for the second round. There's a lot on tonight and I don't have much more to say, so we go over to Martin next. G4FKK to take it from G4EEV.
Oh, it is working. Good. G4FKK returning. Yes, evening all. Nice to see everyone on. And all good so far. Apart, I think you must have, I don't know if you're using OBS or vMix, Richard, but I guess you haven't activated a microphone on the Polycom scene if you're using OBS, and some other thing. That if you're using vMix, I don't use vMix. Anyway, very good. And okay, about coming over to the Blackpool Rally, Richard. That's very, very enterprising. Gareth, that power supply looks deadly. And I saw that aerial TV software. Was it in Radcom? Maybe, I'm not sure, but looks very promising. I wonder if they can get the. I wonder how low a bandwidth or symbol rate it will go down to. And the strawberry looked delicious, and I'm sure it was. Yeah, those straighteners, John. I fixed a few of those. The women folk in this house seem to treat them very roughly. Interesting thing, there's two resistors on those things, well, the ones they've got. I think it's R22 and R21 that very often blow up for some unknown reason. That's quite an easy fix. And I'm glad it was just a torn ligament and that everything ended well, John, after your trip to the A&E. Yeah, 2 weeks off and recuperating. Oh, ideal. As long as you can lift a microphone, that'll be fine, won't it? What was the other thing I was going to mention? Oh yeah, the Polycom was looking good, Richard. So apart from the lack of sound, it was all very successful, I think. I know Martin G8KOE has been playing around with the Polycom. It seems like he's got that going well as well. And Dave, that looks like a nice box for your for your gubbins to go into. Well, I was going to say I haven't actually done much. Well, I've done hardly any electronics this week. I did fix this watch. I don't know if that looks like rude gesture. Anyway, you can't really see it, but it was a complete non-runner and now it runs, so I'm quite pleased with that. But I also built a watch demagnetizer, and that's it. It's a coil of wire, 7.1 millimeter, and I put 12 volts AC up it, and when you push the button it energizes it. So I was quite surprised when it worked extremely well. You have to put the watch or whatever else you're demagnetizing. Well, if it's something that will fit through the hole, you can fit it through the hole. It works very well then. But something delicate like a watch, you can just put it on the top, press the button, hold the button down and lift it away very gently, about a couple of feet, or as long as your arms will reach, and it all demagnetizes. So physics was right after all. Right, from me, it's around to you, Mike. G0MJW and the group G4FKK standing by.
Okay, well this is untested because I didn't have time, and then I did have time but I got distracted by what people were saying. Let me find this. I've been having internet issues as well here, so not not getting much of a service at the moment, but I'm curious, Martin, as to why you'd want to magnetise a watch in the first place, so perhaps you can tell us that on the next over. A few comments. Richard Norbeck, I would have gone to that had I not come back down here after Easter, because it's not too far from where I was last week in Bolton. So it would have been nice to have gone to that. I've not been to it for years. I think it's in Blackpool, isn't it? Somewhere like that. But I didn't realise that you went all the way across the sea to get to it. And I've got some comments on the Polycom video. Your audio went off probably because you were using vMix, but it might have been another reason. But there are two outputs from the Polycom, and you can select the secondary output. If you look at the monitor that's behind me, which hand do I want? This one here. So that there, it's got my hand pointing at it on it. That is the primary monitor, which I got connected all the time, and it shows things like Polycom on it, but I'm using the secondary monitor and it doesn't show those icons, or you can persuade it not to, which is useful sometimes. So you might want to take the second output rather than the first, and then you can have the view from the first one on another monitor and you can see what you're pointing at. And talking about pointing at, let's go to it, because it's pointing at an amplifier, and this is the amplifier that I've been talking about for a while, and I've been doing some tests. And if I go to the new bench cam, you should be able to see the amplifier and a filter, and it is not the filter that I tried initially. So this is a 6 meter and 4 meter amplifier, and it's a dual MRF 300s, and the idea is to use it for DATV. But I've been testing it with CW today. But the filter that I did have on it was a shunt input filter, capacitor then inductor. I've checked, and it didn't work very well on 6 meters. It didn't give out much power. It was okay on 4 meters, but on 6 meters it didn't work. So I've swapped it over for a new one that I've designed, which is just a series input filter. and it's got fewer poles as well. And I just sort of threw it together this evening in about 20 minutes. So it's got some coils and some ATC capacitors, which I happen to have. And it's built on one of the Dutch RF shop's boards, because they're quite cheap. And it works a lot better, and I now get over 400 watts out on 6 meters and on 4 meters, whereas before I was getting 400 watts out on 4 meters and only 300 on 6 meters. And it's not to do with the shape of the filter, it's something else. It's to do with the input, with the way the harmonics are reflected back in. It just saturates at a very low level, and increasing the drive you don't get any more output. So there's something strange happening there. Anyway, it's got nearly 20 dB gain. It's 4 watts in for 400 watts out. So those are good devices to use. Now if I go to the other thing, which I'm calling WonderCam at the moment, for want of a better name, because it's for wandering about, and it's looking at my Nano VNA, because that's what I was using to look at the filter when I built it. So that other filter, I just threw it together. I haven't tuned it or anything, but I looked at it on the Nano VNA and it looked fine, and it worked okay. And this is the one from the Dutch RF shop that you can buy for about €30. It's a 9-pole filter. It's a much better quality coils and everything else, but for some reason the amplifier didn't like driving that, and it might just be the way that amplifier's been designed. So I'm not saying these are bad or anything like that, because they're not. They've got a really wonderful shape and they're really good at cutting off, and they're well made as well. Good value for money with ATC capacitors and everything. So anyway, that's the WonderCam wandering about. And I've got a few other things to talk about as well at some point, but probably not now, of course. Putting down the WonderCam, which is a Polycam, one of the £15 ones. And going back to the amplifier, and then trying to find a picture of me, and going back to me with the bad lip sync about that. Martin, the question on the watch and magnetisation was, why would anyone magnetise one in the first place? I understood it was a demagnetiser, but it seems strange you'd want to magnetise it, but maybe that's something that happens by accident when you go on the tube, I don't know. Oh yes, and John, sorry to hear about your trip to the A&E. I'm glad that it wasn't a heart attack. I think we probably all had trips, either ourselves or others, to A&E. I remember having an electric shock once. This is one of the penalties of building high voltage amplifiers. And I went there just to make sure it was all okay, and they said, "What?" Ooh, and saw you immediately, just in case there was some potential for bad things happening. But I was fine. It was not that bad. It was only 2.5 kV, and it was DC, not AC, and it was only very, very brief, so I was fine. But you've got to be careful sometimes. I don't like working at high voltages as a result of that. And 50 volts is more than enough. You can get quite a belt off even 50 volts if you're not careful. So be careful. And I hope that power supply works, Gareth, because I've never seen them do that. Mine all worked first time and just came up at 52 volts. I can set the voltage and do everything via the CAN bus, but it might be that it's just set in a mode where it needs a command to come on, so let's hope. Right, with that, I've got to work out how to... yes, I know about a different length of cable, but it's dual band, so that would mean 2 bits of cable. And being 6 meters, it would have to be a very long piece of cable, Dave. So who have I got to pass it to? It's to GW7BZY. So GW7BZY, G0MJW.
Very much there. I all sort of just playing with stuff across just before I expected you to. Okay, so what have I not been doing very much this time? Sorry to the guy that haven't thought he had a heart attack. There's nothing worse when you think you're having a heart attack, is there? But thankfully it wasn't. That's as far as I've got with my new product. that's about it. I'll have to get the parts, and I'm quite jealous of the guy there with the Raspberry Pi, you know, very shortly. I was going to show the watch guy there. I have a watch, a Rotel or something watch, which is automatic and it's got steam in it. So, but I found that. I don't know if you can see that. I've got a little bit closer image of that in a minute. Just if I can get the computer working. Have we got it? Yeah. You've got it quite easily done. Has anybody noticed what's wrong with that watch? What's different about it? Not that it's wrong, but what is greatly different to the average watch? Part it's Russian, obviously, but Vostok. It ticks. I think it's 17 joules. But if you haven't spotted it, it's a 24-hour watch for people living up in the above the Arctic Circle. So whether it's daytime or nighttime, that's the half the face there. It's dark and the other half is light to tell you whether it's day or night, which is quite a useful thing, I'm sure. Especially their liking for vodka and etc. Not going to cast any aspersions on Russians, even the certain circumstances. But anyway, there we are. That's all I've been doing this side. I've got audio coming out of my television, which is I'm running some full HD on 433 with 2/3 error correction, so I don't know if I've got enough data to do it justice, but it seems to be working okay. I shall assemble, solder this advanced receiver in the fullness of time, as I think the parts will be a difficult thing of getting the Pi 4. And of course the wife's birthday this week, so I can't spend too much money. Although I have just bought a Yaesu 100D, FT100D, so some HF and 2 meters coming along. That will be some more radiometering. I may get an up converter for that, so that can work Q100 narrowband with ease, rather than using the Pluto, which is a bit of a bind. Really, it works, but it doesn't work very well. With that, I hand it round. It's good to see everybody on. I'll just say that before I go, and very interesting. The strawberry looked very good. I don't know how many strawberries there was, just the one. I saw somebody that was growing chilies. I used to grow some chilies as well. That's my only thing that green that I quite like. I've been out with a wee kilo green thing in the garden, and I'm going to carpet it with green carpet. So at least you don't have to cut that, eh? So with that, I'm going to hand it round from GW7B as well. I will have a look to see who's on next. If my mouse, because my mouse works on 2.4 gigs, I think, or 2 point something, and it doesn't seem to work very well. I wonder why. GW7B G3 IUZ.
Right, well, good evening, everybody. All very nice pictures tonight. Particularly Gareth, the quality of your pictures tonight seemed to be greatly improved on last week. So just a passing comment. I think Mike noted that as well. Right, all very interesting. Nothing spectacular to report here. The Winter Hill is going fine. I'm very pleased with that. Just one or two slight puzzles, and it was happening tonight. The first thing I hadn't noticed before, if I'm using the HDMI monitor directly from the Pi, rather than watching it on the PC. using the viewer. I've got it going full screen. Interesting. When the carrier drops, it goes back to the four smaller pictures screens, and then comes back when the carriers come up on the I think I'm on channel 1. Then it comes back to the full screen, which is interesting. I hadn't noticed that before. But the odd thing that I am getting, and it happened particularly during your transmission, Mike, when is that suddenly the picture, the screen goes sort of grey, almost like a ghostly effect, where you can see things moving, as it were, through a fog. And then it gradually clears around. In fact, with you, it cleared around the edges and then came back to the full color picture again. It happened on one of the other transmissions. So that's and it sort of goes blocky. So I'm not quite sure why that is. But that's one of those things that happened. I have been watching the streamer as well with half an eye, and it didn't. So it's obviously something to do with the Winter Hill. So perhaps a comment from those of you expert in these matters. The other thing is just to say thank you very much for the latest update, which I've only just got round to on the Portsdown, Dave, and I now have got the control of the Portsdown up on the PC. So that's very neat and very handy. And if you particularly as I've got the Portsdown sort of over here, sort of round half behind me, so it's very easy just to pick up the mouse, and if you need to do anything on the touch screen, as it were. So thank you very much for that. That's very clever. Right. Okay. I see. I'm just looking at errors on the transport scheme. Right. Yep. Is there anything I can do about it, Mike? Thank you for that. There. Right. I'm just looking at the chat. Right. Someone's having a problem with my sound. I'm sorry about that. But no one else is complaining. Right. But that's really me. Nothing else to talk about this evening. So I think it now goes to Noel. G8GTZ. So let's put the test card up first, and then over to you, Noel.
G8GTZ, G8GKQ. Good, that works. Right, yes, thanks for that, Noel. I see you've given in on the Polycam. They're actually surprisingly good. Maybe at one stage I will get around to mechanising the zoom and pan in with the ports down, but it's a bit much to do. Roger, yeah, the H.265 is susceptible to doing that grey scene business. If you miss the, I'm not sure whether it's called an iframe or a keyframe, Noel will know, but the main frame that sets the scene for the subsequent frames. So if you just happen to miss that one, then you get the grey effect. It did actually happen once on your transmission on both my receivers, but whether that was something in the way of the satellite, I'm not sure. It doesn't tend to be an issue that's necessarily because of Winter Hill. It tends to be VLC not performing as well on a PC or across the network. How do you zoom? Do you need a Polycom controller? No, you can do it from the Linux command line. No, that's why I say it needs some mechanization. It's an incantation that the Linux command line makes it zoom and pan. Pete, your video, I think your data rate is just slightly too high, and when you move, the data rate peaks above the capacity of your channel, so you just not enough margin there, but really good pictures anyway. Mike, your audio is absolutely amazing. I could hear the tweeting birds outside your window, so really good, and very nice pictures. Martin, the demagnetizer reminds me of colour TVs and the degaussing at the beginning of when you turn them on. Very similar effect. Dave, Lime SDRs, apparently Andrew Back has one of the new version 2 ones. But that'll be one of the pre-production runs, so it's going to be another month or two at least for those. The only thing I would say about your ports down box is they're never big enough, and I'm just about to hit that again. I will show you mine. So here we are. Here is known as the ports down double. It's only got the cutout for one screen at the moment, but there is a second screen that goes there. I cut that hole today and had enough metal bashing, so I'll do the other hole tomorrow. I had hoped to have room to put some switches and stuff down the sides, but I haven't really left myself enough room after all that. But as you can see, there's plenty of room inside. And the idea is one will be for receiving the pictures and the other one will be for band viewer on receive, and on transmit one will transmit and the other one will check it's transmitting. And that will be my portable rig. Yes, I do need a milling machine to cut the holes, Mike, but I haven't got one. I haven't got room for one, so I make do. But that's it. It's got a blue tint on it at the moment because it's got all the blue plastic on the aluminium. That will come off when I've stopped mistreating the aluminium. So that's the major hardware work that's been going on. Just put that down safely. On the software side, I've done a development release for Portsdown 4, which supports the Lime RFE, as shown on the cover of Radcom. So that's out there. If anybody's got a Lime RFE, they can load the development release, and if they ask me, I'll send them the data. And the other thing I've been working on is for a long time I've had a Wi-Fi menu on the Portsdown, and it didn't do anything. Well, it's starting to get some features, but they won't be released for a week or two. The delay was I needed a way of displaying a list and selecting something from the list. So I had to write the graphics function to do that, but that's done now. John, sorry to hear about your trip to A&E. I had a very similar experience about 12 years ago. Went to A&E with chest pains, and it was a muscle thingy. And the reason was I'd been on crutches for the previous 4 or 5 weeks. And I got quite fast on these crutches, but I'd managed to pull something in my chest, and very similar experience. But I didn't get any time off work afterwards, so that's not so good. And you were talking about the continental plugs. The non-earth ones do not have, the 2-pin ones do not have a live and a neutral. They're safe either way round. But the earthed German ones, the Schuko plugs, are the same. Live and neutral aren't defined on them. They're just both either line can be live. Right, too much waffling from me, so straight round to Gareth again. G4XAT and the group GHGKQ.
Good. Thank you, Dave. G4XAT. Back again for more waffle. Okay, well, overnight, last night, I tested this. And of course you can't see what the screen is. Come on, try your best. There we go. It's a weather box for prediction of propagation likelihood or something like that. Anyway, it needed a battery pack in it for portable use, so I reached into my stash of laptop surplus lithium ions and connected it up to one of these tiny little boards available in a variety of specs and so on, basically anti-overcharge and anti-undercharge or discharge. And I switched on at 8 o'clock last night and it was still going at 8 o'clock this morning. Pretty flat, there wasn't much else left in the cells at that point, but it was still working. So I'm pleased with that. I also had the beam up yesterday after helping Justin put some 70 SEMs and 2 meter gear and a box on the wall for GB3JV. And I thought, well, I'll see if I can get in. Now, this is a repeater that I was able to access on 20 milliwatts on 23 SEMs from the same mast. Okay. Admittedly, he's got a small flat plate for receive on the 23 at the other end. But, 20 milliwatts? Right, well, I couldn't get in with 180 watts into a 12 DVD beam. So something's going on there. And let's just show you the cable I was using. Here we are. That's out of my amp into the LDF 450 that goes down the garden. And that's what I was sending the 23 SEMs down as well. So we're all a bit puzzled by that. Okay, so it's only a big wheel, but given the margin of power, I should have been able to do that on a dummy load. Anyway, that was a bit of puzzlement. Too many rallies. I mean, I don't think I need any gear, but I am going to take cash with me to Martlesham, just in case there's something there that I do need. But I should be thinking of you having fun at your rallies, and I'll no doubt be going on and on about the bits and pieces that I've found or not from Martlesham. Right, there goes the amp. Bring back my stuff, yeah. We'll see. I did start writing up the the B stamp today, Mike, for wider circulation, and I'm definitely going to have a crack at getting one of those devices on 23 cents. I think I'm going to buy the W6PQL kit just without the device and stick one of my devices on it and see what it does. Because I'm out of my depth to design it, but I can estimate that things will work outside their spec. Sorry to hear about your twinge, John, but good news that it was not critical. A friend of mine was suffering from genuine chest pains when he swam, and they did a scan on him and they found that his main artery was blocked and his body had built 3 little sub-arteries. So he had a stent done and he's good as gold. Back to swimming. Anyway, that's enough from me. Nice to see what you're all up to, and see you further down the line, quite literally. So here's the test card, and round to you, John. G7JTT from G4X18.
TT with the group GI4DOH. Definitely got sound now. It's having shoot off my little thing to allow me to mute the sound. I got called out, Martin. Full marks to you. You're quite right. When I set up the Polycom camera, I didn't put any audio on it. I'm using OBS, and schoolboy error there. I was working the video and looking at the video and not taking into account that it's not going to be sound unless I actually put it there. I think actually I've played around a bit over the last few minutes. I've got settings on the Polycom unit itself for the camera, and then of course the settings in OBS. So if I play around with those, you should be able to get a better match between the two cameras. In fairness, the C920 has just thought I should check that the audio is there. The C920 is a much more modern camera. I guess the Polycom camera, the fact that you can only set the system time up to 2020, it doesn't go as far as 2022 suggests that everything's quite old. So a bit of playing around to do and all the rest. So I lost my auto cue. Mike, thanks for the tips there on the second monitor. I wondered about that, but again, I only just got things working earlier on today, and there's a lot to try and do, and sort of like a mug trying to use it tonight without actually giving things a thorough testing. But yes, I'll change over to, I do have a monitor behind me. It's probably, you see, I need practice with this, but look the other way. That's the monitor I was using for the original setup, and I should be able to connect that as the first monitor and connect my input. What am I doing here? Stop. It's a lot to take on board in one go. I'm not getting any younger, and it's not getting any easier. Just from the other camera, just looking sort of back a bit, that's the Polycom camera sitting there with the C920 just below it, and things. This is my my BATV setup with the Pluto step attenuator, little AMSAT amplifier, I think it's 200 milliwatts or something like that, into the main amplifier here. But I've just got set up again for narrowband with an FT847 here, because I've taken the 857 for my AME stuff. So again, having a converter on the upper shelf with little AMSAT amplifier, slightly bigger 5-watt AMSAT amplifier, and then conveniently the cable I can swap over the connection that goes into the amplifier that I'm using now for wideband. So I just realized that I'm doing all this. I didn't transition. Enough of that. I'm definitely have a lot to learn. So just saying, that's the DATV stuff for wideband on the lower shelf, and the narrowband stuff on the upper shelf, terminating nicely in the cable here, where I just swap over what goes into this amplifier. So I have tidied things up and got things a bit more modular and easy to move things around without making a mess of things. I just have to learn to operate it. I have need a bit of practice, so I need to spend more time. Actually, I should do the wideband stuff not just on Thursday nights. I should go for DXCC or something like that. So enough waffle from me. I'll maybe see some of you at Norbreck. There are actually three of us going over with a van, so not limited by what I can bring back. And I have made a point of getting some English banknotes as opposed to our usual sort of funny money, as my wife used to refer to it. So pass it on round then to Dave G4EV with the BATC group. This is GI4DOH. Good night all.
Yeah, looks sounds like it. Yeah, okay, the GW7B's right. Okay, and everything. I haven't been making notes. I couldn't find a biro. So I apologise for that. And I'm hopeless to remember anybody's name. So keep this short. I'll probably maybe on next week. I don't know. I suppose I'll work, etc., etc. But all fascinating stuff. I mean, I like all broadcast gear, as you can probably see up on the back here. Firewire, DV cam. Because it's quite a cheap gear going. There's even the laser disc version, which is really good equipment. I suppose most of Top Gear was filmed on it, on similar cameras. And while mechanical stuff doesn't excite me because they tend to break, but as for cameras, they're really good. This one uses a MOSFET camera, CCDs, three CCDs, three MOSFETs, three MOSFETs, not CCDs. The old Sony there, that's the one on my left-hand side is a 2/3 CCD camera. Although I think the CCDs don't last as well by experience. You always get a few dead ones. But anyway, they work really well and give a really good picture. They do what they were built to do. So, but eBay is the way, obviously. And if you shop carefully, you get something good value. But maybe too expensive compared to sort of £5 for an old webcam or something. But there we are. You spend your money. You make your choice. But that's about what I've got to say on that. And I'll see how I get on with this. If I can find myself a Raspberry Pi 4, that'll be the next project, and the components. So I'll have some fun with that. And maybe the microscope, which is on the side there, just about a viewing screen, will get some more use. With that, this is GW7BCY saying it's going clear to the net, saying good night to everybody. I will stand by for a little while, and then I'm going to get a cup of tea from GW7BCY, clear with the net. Get my mouse working.
Yeah, okay, Pete. GW7BZY. G4FKK. Let's just turn that down. I don't know what happened there. I was expecting Dave to come up, then I remembered Dave said he wasn't coming back. More beans. Oh, of course, you've only got that tiny dish, haven't you, Mike? 2.4 metres. What am I reading? Let's have a look. Oh, yes, dearie me. 4.8. That's not very good, is it? Anyway, that's as many. Well, I suppose I could give you couple more beans if I remember how to do that. I don't think I have to turn it off. Might help if I watch what I'm doing on there. I think that's as much beanage as I can muster. For some reason. Why is that then? Interesting. Sorry, bear with me. Yeah, that's interesting. It won't go any higher than that. Self-limiting. Anyway, I almost dropped out, really. Wow. Never mind. Anyway, yeah, Mike, that amplifier looks very good, and I found a similar thing. I think I said a couple of weeks ago when I built the Dutch RF Shop's design of a 2-meter low-pass filter, which was a shunt input, and I had to change that to a series input with 2 less nodes as well. And it worked fabulously. So I wonder what, maybe it's the impedance they've designed for the input of it, although I'm sure I checked it and it looked like it should be 50. But then again, you know, the amps aren't ever very often 50 ohms output, are they really? MER 8% now. 8.5, okay. Thanks, Colin. Pete, I noticed you've got a saxophone in the background there. I think you've got a guitar as well. Because I know we've got, I think we've got a couple of bass players on Freaks In. I play guitar, so we've almost got a Thursday night band going. We'll have to write some of our own tunes then, because of course you can't play copyright music, but I guess if you write your own, you could. High voltage, 2.5 kilovolts. Yeah, DC's all right until you get stuck to it, of course, at 2.5 kilovolts, Mike. But obviously, did you no harm at all? Hope the Winter Hill goes well, Pete, and I'm glad yours is going well, Roger. And Dave and Mike have explained why you might have got the grey picture, which was news to me as well. Noel, I'm glad you got over the COVID. Clearly, you had the weak version. You know, I had the man-sized version. I felt dreadful when I had it back in October. Thanks, Wolfgang. It's not really much better. I've just switched the light on above me, which I don't like to do because it shows how thin the hair on top's getting. So I really need some proper white lighting, I think. But thank you for that comment. What was the other thing? Oh, yeah, and that transverter looks very good, so I hope that all works for you. And Dave, yeah, it's funny you mentioned the colour television degaussing, because I remember asking my dad when we first got a colour television, what's that funny noise it makes at the start, and he told me. And so I tested this by putting a magnet near the screen, and we had a sort of purple patch because I must have bent the what was that thing called, the whatever it was called at the front of the screens. But it eventually disappeared. My dad was furious because they weren't cheap in those days, colour televisions. The double port style looks excellent. Gareth, very interesting about the JV, because I assumed it was just my terrible 70 SEM setup, but I was firing about 70 watts at it the other day, and not a flicker. Although I noticed Roger, G8HKN, gets in okay. So maybe either that, or maybe because you've got the same aerial, we built the same aerial, didn't we, I think, for 70 SEMs. So maybe they're just rubbish. Who knows? Have to do a few more tests on that. There was something else I was going to mention to Roger, but I can't remember what it was. Anyway, and yeah, 3 weeks off, John, and I like your reasons for telling Maria how poorly you're feeling. Okay, Richard, on the OBS scene. Yeah, the other thing that's good fun is the presets. So I think I've got. I tend not to use them now, but I think preset. Let's see what the preset 3 does. Oh yeah, that zooms in on the amplifier. I can zoom it out a bit more than that. But once you've got a nice camera setting, if you just hold one of the buttons, numbered buttons down, it will preset it. It will memorize it. So that's my preset 1. It's preset 2 for a slightly wider shot. So all good fun, the Polycoms. And going to a rally with a van. Last time I did that, Richard, I came back with 2 AR-88s, an AR-88D and an AR-88 LF. So be careful. Anyway, I think that's probably enough from me. Great to see everyone on. I will try and do something more electronical later. And okay, Gareth, but I did read your note, and no, it's not rubbish. Excellent. Kids stay hold magnets up to date. Yeah, it's not as much excitement. You're quite right. Not just the chords. Oh, a tenor sax. Excellent. And okay, good. Right. Well, I shall move it on to Mike. Thanks, Dave, for running the net, and I shall look forward to seeing and hearing from you all very soon. G0MJW to take it. G4FKK. Cheerio.
Okay. Right, I've shut the window now, so you won't be hearing the noisy blackbirds anymore. But they do make a lot of noise at this time of year. I've got a few things to comment on, but let's get on with it. Firstly, does anyone need anything at handover? I'm hoping to go, so I could bring a few things if I know what I need to bring. So please let me know. Now, coming on to the Wander Cam again. So Dave, yeah, I have one of these, so I will echo. What? Ooh, don't know where that's coming from. Shouldn't be any echo. No, no reason there should be any echo, but if there is, apologies. Right, okay. Oh no, it's when I transition between the two. Sometimes something funny happens in OBS. I'm not sure why. So I've got this, which I was hoping to use with the other Lime because it has a wider frequency coverage, and I've also got one of these, and I don't know if anyone else has got one of these, but I've never really got around to using it. And this is the high frequency extension for the Lime. So sorry about the shaky cam, but it does the 10 gigahertz band and other things. But the problem is, of course, this is my ports down, Langstone, whatever, and I can't get this to fit inside it. It just doesn't go, at least not with all the stuff that's already in there. So yeah, it's true that any box is too small. Oh, the other thing I was going to do is show you what I've done in the shack, because I've rearranged the shack now. So I could show Noel how to zoom in and out, but I won't do that now. So I've got a new desk here, which is much bigger, and I've put the second shelf on there that I did have over on this bench, and I've got a new second shelf there, which is a modified bench. So that works a bit better, I think. And it gives me more space, but there's never enough space. However big your shack is, there's never enough of it, is there? So that's the thing. Oh, by the way, this is the Polycom camera. 15 quid. It was an absolute bargain. At 16 quid, it's still a bargain. So anyone who hasn't got one, like a C920, go and get one because they're really good. I put a link up earlier as to where you can get them. Right, I see what's happened. Sorry about that. I clicked the wrong thing on the Keo Pro on the camera, so hopefully that echo's gone now. Yeah, stop saying echo. I got it. If you want more echo, I can do it. Here you go, echo, echo. So sorry about that, but yes, sometimes you hit the wrong button, don't you? Richard is enjoying the Polycom, but they're very complicated to set up. It took me a long time to understand how to do it. Mine's just gone to sleep, by the way, because it was getting tired, and they do that after a while. You can set the delay, but as you saw, it just turned itself off. And it turns the cameras around to point in the other direction, which is nice, because you realise that it's not looking at you. But anyway, one thing I did want to show before we finish is this, which is the view outside this afternoon from the shack. It's the field behind me. It's full of oilseed rape now, and it looks really, really nice. And the smell was wonderful earlier in the month, and I'm waiting to see what happens with that. So they've got this lovely oilseed rape there, and I also took a picture in thermal imaging because, well, why not? You can. Nothing of interest shown there, but that's what it looks like in thermal. Okay, at some point I will get that thermal video onto QR100. I haven't quite worked out how to do it yet. I tried using screen capture software on the phone, but it seems to disable the thermal imaging. But I can do it with a Raspberry Pi and some software with the other fuller video camera I've got, which might make things interesting. But it's been so many years since I did that I haven't done it anymore. So I have to remember. I can give Colin, if he's still listening, Colin, the values for the coils and capacitors that I used in that filter. I think it is important if you use a shunt or a series component first, and you can, it depends on whether you have a quarter wavelength line in front of it or not, and it's not going to be a quarter wavelength because the phase will be somewhat different, and probably neither is optimum, and you have to get the right phasing line as well. So it's a complicated business to filter an amplifier. If you use a diplexing filter, like I did on some other ones, you don't need to worry about all this because the harmonic energy gets absorbed somewhere else. But it's important, and if you find your amplifier wasn't working with the filter but was working without it, that could be why. But the other thing we've got to decide on is what to do with these 77s pallets and how to combine them. I think a Wilkinson combiner might be the way to go. 2 of those should be good for 200 watts almost of DATV, which should be enough, I think, for most people, and also 400 watts of SSBCW, which is more than enough for the UK AC, which we all miss because of the Tuesday night net. Well, not all of us. Okay, good to see everyone, and it'd be nice to meet people again in person at Andover, those who are going, and looking forward to a report on Martlesham from Gareth, so I hope you enjoy that. With that, I've got to work out who to pass it on to next, because it should have been GW7BZY, and it's not, because he went on, so I guess it's Roger. So round to you, Roger, and hopefully you understood my not particularly good explanation of how the video coding works, but that's why you're getting the grey screens. And because I'm not sending very many identity frames or image frames, so that I can get a higher resolution, my signals are particularly susceptible to that. And I'm using 3/4 FEC. Very naughty of me. Right, round to you. G3IUZ, G0MJW. Round to you. G3I.
Thank you very much, Mike. Right, well, thank you for the explanation. That's very helpful. Now I understand. Looking at my MER, from what other people have been saying, I'm at least 2 down on that. I mean, currently I'm reading myself at MER 5.2. So the problem there is literally on this very, very small Victorian listed terrace, we have a very small courtyard at the back, into which was inserted by the previous owners a utility room with a flat roof, and there's just one corner of that flat roof. It's the only place I can put the dish. But the dish has to fire between the tower and steeple of the neighbouring parish church, which is the one that featured on television during the gale and lost its top. I could show you some pictures of that wobbling if you wanted to one sometime. Anyway, between that and an adjacent chimney further down the terrace, and the chimney stack further down the terrace, actually, when you line up eye by eye the dish looking towards the satellite, is actually screening the dish. So even with very, very careful alignment, this is the best I can get. So yes, I appreciate it is marginal. But that transmission, Mike, yeah, I think you'd wound it up a bit, because the top of your on the spectrum was level with the level with the the old memory going again, you know what I mean. But Martin, you were down a bit, and I was getting the grey ghosting effect very much with you through most of your transmission. But there we are. Anyway, all understood, and thank you for that. And just a quickie for G3YJR, Graham, if you're still watching. Yeah, the loop behind is an HF loop for 40 2015-10, and it's made of 54mm copper, all silver soldered. Anyway, there we are. Right, thank you all very much indeed. Thanks for your help as always. And a pleasure to see you all and to listen to all the things that you get up to. And I shall hope to see you again next week. So it's now to you, Dave, to tie the ribbons, as they say. So thank you all, and a very good evening to GKQ. To take it, you have G3IUZ in the group.
G3IUZ and the group. G8GKQ. Okay, good. All interesting stuff. Just a couple of things to come back on, Mike. I do have one of those, but it's not the same as yours. It hasn't got any of the drive ramps on it. It's one of their early prototypes. So I do need to do some work on it. I did promise them I would, and haven't got there yet. So at some stage that takes the Lime SDR up to 5 and 10 gigs. But at ridiculously low power, about minus 10 dBm, I think the one I've got. I think yours does better, Mike. Good. Well, thank you all for coming up this evening, and hope you get some bargains at the weekend, and look forward to seeing you all next week. So G8GKQ closing the BATC net and leaving the frequency clear. Good night all.